a few pots with some aloes in, watch them come to the hummingbirds come to those. So you don't even have to be a landowner to do this. You have to just put yourself in the mindset to say, let's brighten up my day with birds.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of Green Acres and our guests. These general gardening tips and suggestions may work for you, as well as those from alternative sources. When using any garden products or tools, read and follow all label directions. And learn how to make your yard summer strong at bewatersmart.info.
The Green Acres Garden Podcast is the podcast dedicated to helping gardeners hone their growing skills while we celebrate our love of plants. So whether you're new to growing or a seasoned gardener, you're sure to learn something new. Join the fun as we have conversations with world-class growers, passionate green thumbs, and professional garden experts from Green Acres Nursery and Supply. Listen every week. We'll answer questions you didn't know you had. And away we grow. Hey there, garden fans, and welcome to the show. This is the Green Acres Garden Podcast, the home for all you green thumbs out there and plant lovers, of course. And I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much for being here. We love having you because we got a great episode for you. We've got ourselves a whale this week, and by that I mean we got a magnificent guest. We got to sit down with a gentleman named Ian Baldwin. Ian Baldwin's actually formerly British, but has been living here in America longer than I've been alive. And actually, on top of that, Ian got his degree in horticulture and then compounded that with a master's of business. So he's got this amazing business background, Austin, with his knowledge of plants. He coupled that into a 40-plus year career of being a nursery consultant. So Ian would travel all throughout the United States, and I think in other countries as well, helping nurseries and garden centers get better at what they do, sell more plants, create a better experience for their customers. And so Ian has probably stepped foot in more nurseries than anybody listening. It's pretty impressive.
That's
guy.
incredible.
And now
he was great. I loved Ian. So yeah, we just met up with him, and I think we're still excited from our chat with him. He is a fascinating man. I love his voice too. It's good to have a British accent on the show.
Charming and welcoming for sure.
Yeah, it's a good change. I like it. But he's so passionate about birds. So before we get into it, Kevin, give us a sneak peek of the topic and why we're talking about birds. Ian is a birder.
For sure.
Which he'll teach us all about, but why are we jumping into birds?
We love birds, and so we're going to talk about the beauty, the benefits, just the magic of birds. We've had a lot of people on here recently talking about ecological reforestation and ecological restoration. Ecological gardening is a big thing right now. Recently, we had on David Mizajewski from the Wildlife Foundation, and he was also super passionate about birds and wildlife. And Ian, I think they're cut from the same cloth. So Ian is now retired, and he's dedicating all of his kind of energy to bird love. And so he and his wife, they've kind of carved out a little bird sanctuary on their property where they live. And when they got out there, it was kind of flat. There wasn't much going on. It was basically an open field. And now it is just like this little oasis, a magnet for birds, just big and small. And so you'll hear it from him firsthand. We live actually here in Northern California, actually in a lot of the United States, North America. We have so many birds.
Yeah.
And you'll find out we are actually directly underneath a massive migratory pathway called the Pacific Coast Flyway. Sounds kind of cool. And honestly, birds are coming from all the way north of Siberia, and some of them are migrating all the way down to Patagonia and back and forth again. So it's when we're caught right in the middle. How lucky are we? So millions of birds get to migrate.
So we've got our local birds, and then we've also got migratory birds, and they all need our help, and they all provide all these cool benefits to our gardens as well. So I was fascinated learning about this from Ian himself, because he's the pro in this. He knows his birds and he knows his plants. So not only does he talk about birds, but he talks about the plants for our area that work for him, that bring them these birds in. And it's also so cool to learn that the backyard is it's the battleground. This is where people can make a difference, and we can all play a part in benefiting our ecosystem, helping out our feathered friends, and having amazing gardens at the same time. So let's go ahead and jump into our interview with Ian Baldwin. We sat down with him at the Green Acres Nursery and Supply in Elk Grove to learn all about birds. Here we go. Let's get into it.
you've got a garden and you know what you're doing a little bit, you get birds. It's simple as that. It's hard not to have birds if you've got a garden. Hello, I am Ian Baldwin. I live in Elk Grove, California, and I used to be English. I've been 40 years I've been in this country, and my profession is a garden center business consultant who happens to be a bird nut as well.
You got the bug early on, but what do you think it really is that is so, like, why do we love birds so much? Is it because we want to be them, we want to be free, we love the songs?
I think there's some of that.
Curious?
I think there's some of the envy that we can't just launch off a fence and check the neighbours out and come back in. But I think it's a joy. A lot of it is just a joy. It doesn't have to be a rare bird. We're not talking about anything fancy. Just watching a sparrow having a bath in a puddle just makes me smile.
It's nice to be able to just look out the window and see something thriving.
And you don't have to have acreage. The whole point is that the whole theory here is it can be a plant on a patio and a balcony. If you get the right plant and you live the dream, as it were, you can get lots of birds just on a balcony. Don't have to be an acreage owner. I know most people don't. So it's a joy.
Certainly. Why should just the normal everyday gardener, what benefit do birds bring into our lives, into our gardens, and into nature?
Well, apart from the emotional stuff I just mentioned, the joy and just the discovery, especially for children, the fact is that these little feathered friends are doing a heck of a job on pest control. I looked it up just for this purpose. I didn't know the number. A swallow, a barn swallow, any swallow, there's 3 different species around here, will eat about 1,000 flies a day.
Love it.
You think about that.
We need more of those then.
Not kidding.
Is that why they call them swallows? They
swallow
flies all day.
They swallow 1,000 times a day.
Yeah.
So they're just really good in you might hear a woodpecker, you might see a woodpecker. That thing takes out borers from the tree, which will kill the tree. So it's a really good crop protection method, if you like, apart from being fluffy and pretty. And I think it's an integral part of nature's cycle. If the birds weren't around, it'd be a pretty sad day.
What would that be like?
Silent.
There was that book, The Silent Spring.
Not kidding. That's funny you mention that. I am old enough to have remembered reading that thing, and that's what turned me on. That's what got me clicked. Is Silent Spring. Rachel Carson.
Well, we always kind of feel, I think it's easy to kind of detach ourselves from nature and separate it. Like, we're humans. We're completely separate. But I think when you start looking at these birds, It's easy to make the connections and realize, no, we are absolutely connected to these birds.
Everything. If you look at evolution, everything has a purpose, and birds have a purpose. They either kill pests, or they pollinate plants, big time. Some of our main crops won't survive without birds, because birds will eat the pests that eat the pollinators, bees, for instance. So they have a purpose. You take birds away, it's going to be a very sad world. Not just emotionally sad and quiet. It's not going to function like it should. It's an integral part of the system. It really is.
What do you think is a common bird for a gardener to kind of see in their backyards right now?
Hummers.
Oh yeah.
Because gardeners get hummingbirds through the winter. They really do. There's probably not enough natural plants flowering to support humming. We might get a few get through without, but most people gardens are the main food source for hummingbirds.
I delay a lot of my pruning on some of my flowers that provide food for them.
Absolutely.
Because they're kind of stretching right now and it's towards the end. And
Absolutely.
They do want to be pruned, but I'm like, I'll let them go as long as I can.
Yeah, good
until
for
all the
you.
other flowers wake up.
I like goldfinches. There's 2 goldfinches around here. There's a lesser and one called American with a little black cap on, and a lesser goldfinch.
Like the black and yellow birds?
Yeah.
They're beautiful.
And they're in the bubbler every day. In fact, I saw them this morning. And they feed on all sorts of seeds. They are very good and many of these seed eaters, all the sparrows and all the finches, they eat seeds in winter and summer, but in spring, the insects for the kids, because babies can't survive on seeds. So they turn to be insectivorous for about 3 months. So they again go after all the pests.
Okay, now it's one thing to learn the signs where you see these birds. You go, I can identify just by the visual.
Sure.
Can you identify just by the bird calls and the sounds, the songs?
Some. I'm not the best at that. I've got old ears, so not the best at that. But
is there a bird that's like a bird song that you think everybody like, hey, you got to hear this bird? It is
sandhill.
The sandhill.
It's a gargle in the sky. What on earth is that? What makes that noise? It's like a gargle in the sky. It's like something clearing their throat with a mouthwash. It's strange. But there's hope. Help is here. Help is here. Because there's a wonderful thing for it free on your phone. It's called Merlin, named after the bird or the magician.
The Merlin falcons, or what is that?
No.
Merlin?
Oh, Merlin's a bird. Yes, sorry. Merlin is a bird of prey, like a small falcon. But the software for your phone, the app, can tell you everything. It's called Merlin, the app. It comes from Cornell. It's free. I don't know why, but it's free. And it's got thousands of bird calls on there, and it will match your bird to the software.
That's pretty cool.
So you switch it on, you hit record, and hold it out there. It'll say, oh, peregrine falcon, or oh, lesser goldfinch, and list them all. And then it plays the call if you want it to, play the call to hear the call against what you're hearing. But it's wonderful.
All right, Ian, you've got me sold. I'm loving these birds. What are the things that we can do in our own gardens to bring ththese sweet little birds in there?
If you don't do anything, you get 3 or 4. Mourning doves are everywhere. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And the starlings, we bring one of our gifts to the New World from Britain was starlings, and they're everywhere. But you'd also get a couple of things that are just mockingbirds and scrub jays. That's 4 birds which, without doing anything, you'll see in your garden. If you've got 2,000 square feet in a big subdivision, you'll still get those 4 birds.
I get scrub jays.
Right, because they're everywhere. But if you just do a few things, you could make the 4 birds into 25 birds pretty quickly. And the thing that's not often talked about is what's on the ground. You see birds in trees and bushes, but just as many birds doing this on the ground. Scratching. Foraging is the official term.
Yeah.
So what we recommend, and what we've done a lot in our own place, is plants that make leaf litter. You can buy mulch. You can bring a load of mulch in. You can actually ask a tree surgeon to dump his mulch there instead of taking it and paying to dump it. But the best thing is our perennials, especially in this part of the world, which grow very quickly and shed a lot of leaves. So within 2 or 3 years, if you put 15 or 25 some perennial, and cistus is one. Cistus is more common name, rock rose. The Celtic green acres. We've got a patch of cistus, and there's always something in there looking under the leaves. And it's a bird that you don't know. There's a thing called towhees. There's 2 species of towhees, beautiful little birds come, and that's what they do for a living. There's a couple of sparrows, a fox sparrow, they do that for a living. And the crown sparrows that are in the trees and bushes on the feeder, they do this as well. So about 7 or 8 species will just live on the ground if you put them on the ground to eat. Birds know where the food is. They don't hang around where there's no food. So if you've got a feeder over a concrete patio, all you do is clean up the poop off the patio. So if you put some bushes or some perennials under the feeder, which you should have, by the way, feeders are essential, then you'll find 2 reasons for the birds to come in, the feeder, and then the bits that spill out, because that's what they're on the ground waiting for. I've got one in my office window. I know the blue jay, the scrub jay, just shovels looking for one certain seed. So there's about 400 seeds on the ground for every one. Yeah, but it's good for the sparrows on the ground. So I think leaf litter is really important. We have a couple of shrubs which are very helpful, and one of those is quince, and you know that one. Pretty flower in spring.
Oh, yeah.
But spiky and actually quite aggressive. If you put your arm in it, you'll know about it. Birds love it. They're always in there hanging out because the hawks can't get them.
Protection.
Cooper's hawk, which is the falcon that takes little birds from your feeder, won't go in there. So the minute Cooper's hawk, last Saturday, I drove back in the driveway and there's a Cooper's hawk sat on a fence post by the garden. The sparrows all gone in the quince. They're hiding in the quince because so things like that, you really help. And they're not ugly, they're nice plants, you know. I mean, we got lavender's a good one. French lavender especially makes a lot of leaf litter. So do rosemaries. Rosemaries, which are pretty plants.
Kind of needle-like almost, yes. They just fall.
And rosemaries, in winter, we have rosemary in front of the window, front room, and the goldfinches eat those flower buds in February, March. It's always alive with goldfinches. So, you know, you don't know until you put them in, but there's some pretty standard plants that you can help the birds come in a lot.
Love it.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned bird feeders, and now what is best practice for a bird feeder to make sure that, because if we want to bring them in, we want to make sure we're doing everything correctly.
Clean it.
Clean it. So
yeah.
What's that look like?
I have a bucket and I put bleach in the bucket, dilute bleach, 5% bleach, and I just leave it in overnight.
It just kills everything.
Oh, absolutely. And I just rinse it off and put it back up.
Now, are you using like just bird seed or?
Yeah, bird seed is one of those things. I think you can overdo it. You can overdo it. I just get regular finch seed because that's what most of them are. That's on the sparrows and finches. I get finch seed that has a few bigger things in, like sunflower, but don't get all sunflower.
Okay.
If you get all sunflower, you'll get about 3 birds and an awful lot of mess.
And some squirrels.
and lots of squirrels, yeah. So I just get a seed mix. I also use suet blocks quite a lot. And if I get a woodpecker suet, there's different sorts of suet labeled, like woodpecker or songbird. I get one of each.
That's like the clusters, those things that are kind of
and
seeds
a little
frame,
a metal frame, but you just put the suet block in there. So between those two, I also like thistles, like a Niger black thistle seed. That's a sock that the goldfinches can pick out the seeds through the sock, but nothing else
seed
can.
At a time.
And only they can get at them.
I like that.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about the importance of native gardens, native gardening, native plants, and just their beneficial impact that they can really have on supporting the creatures, big and small, that have kind of been here. Mm-hmm. Are there some native plants that you found? Like you mentioned the oaks. I know the oaks.
Absolutely.
I know the oaks can support like 200 plus species of different animals, so they're really uniquely tied in with our creatures here. So are there some plants you go, hey, this is great for.
And this is
birds.
Sacramento. Zone. This is climate zone 9. If this broadcast goes wider, then you have to adapt to your list. Savileucantha, you know that one. Mexican sage.
Oh yeah.
Grows like a weed.
Yeah.
That plant will make a 6 by 6 by 6 cube in a season.
Those purple spikes come up.
It's a gorgeous
kind
plant.
Kind of fuzzy.
It's a hummingbird magnet, absolutely.
I feel like they go too later in the season when everything else is kind of slowing down.
That's one of the benefits. It doesn't even start flowering until September, but it's flowering now in our garden. Actually, the frost a couple of nights ago might just have nailed it, but it's good for several months. So Mexican sage. Next one is pineapple sage, and it's been around forever. It's a bedding plant, basically. But you get a 4-inch of that, it will make you a bush, 2 foot by 3 foot within 2 years. Grows like a weed, loves our climate, is the strongest hummingbird plant I know, even more than the Mexican sage. And the leaves smell of pineapple when you rub it, which is why it's called pineapple sage. Very nice. When you just put your hand across it, you'll get a really nice fragrance of pineapple from the leaves. So it's a dual benefit plant. Anything like an aloe, which has got a red tube. Anything that's red tube.
Tubular, yeah.
Yeah, it's hummingbird plant.
Hummingbirds, that long beak.
Right. And penstemon.
There's a native foothill penstemon.
Again, a great hummingbird plant.
The flowers are like this vibrant, like bluish purple. Like, wow.
And that's a good native plant too. Leaf litter, I mentioned already, cistus. Artemisia is something that's called wormwood.
Wormwood, Artemisia, yeah.
It's not the prettiest plant in the world, though it smells nice when you touch it. But it's great for leaf litter. One we use a lot, oregano, but not the oregano you use for cooking. It's sounds like a perennial oregano. Covers easily, no trouble, never seems to die. It's a very tough plant, makes great stretching around. And I mentioned rosemary too. There's also...
I like how a lot of these plants too you're mentioning are like pretty rugged, easy to take care of plants.
It has to be easy. We're survival gardeners. If it doesn't like elk grove, we don't carry it. We don't protect it. We don't baby things. So we just, what makes it, we plant a lot more of it. So I think there's also, there's a few shrubs as well. There's one called Baccharis, which is called coyote bush.
Oh yeah.
Great plant. It's not pretty.
You see it all over. You go for walks around here. It's everywhere in the wild.
Birds love the seed. It's also a good place to shelter at night for a bird, and it loves this climate. Rugged, yeah. I try and provide bed, shelter, and full meals for my birds. So we have several things that birds can sleep in. We have a star jasmine up the wall on the trellis. It's year-round leaves, right? There's always something in that at night, because they feel safe in there, up against the wall, lots of leaves around them. We have a bay laurel, which is good for cooking, dense plant. There's always something goes in there at night. So you also think about the bedside of things, that where you're going to sleep safely, because birds like to be safe when they're sleepy. So
who doesn't?
So we got bed, and we got food, and we got shelter, and then we got bath. So we got bed, bath, and beyond there.
There we go. Bed, bath, and beyond for your birds. I'm sure they're like, thank you for that.
I mentioned quince already. That's a good plant too. Trees we have are oaks. There's one called Chinese pistache. It's a really nice plant. It's got great fall colour.
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant fall colour. But you know what else? It's got berries that just are like magnets for birds.
I did not know that.
It's a nice flower, but if you leave the flowers stay on, the berries stay on till October.
Because everyone here grows them for that fall color.
Brilliant red berry. And we get waxwings coming in. I think the waxwings it's called cedar waxwing. I think it comes from somewhere in Oregon just for our tree. We only see them once a year on that tree. They seem to know where the food is. You see, birds know where the food is.
That's so cool.
It's fabulous, isn't it?
If somebody was listening and they're like, they could just do one small thing to support the birds and lure them in for some enjoyment, what would that one thing be, you think?
Can I have two?
Yeah, sure.
A feeder and a bubbler.
A feeder and a bubbler.
Right.
And so what do you mean by bubbler? Like you would have an aquarium where it's bubbling the water?
It's an electric pump underneath, and the bubble. It's like a jacuzzi for birds.
Oh, like a moving bird bath.
So it's completely, yes.
Oh, I love it.
And the birds seem to like that better than just a still water, a bird bath, which is still.
No mosquito larvae either.
That's another point. We have a one that gets filled up on the irrigation, which is not a bubbler, just a bird bath. And it's always full of algae and things like that. It's not very active. It's too active with insects. So we like the bubbler, and it keeps it clean much easier. And birds seem to like that active water. Bird habitat that was before we came along and changed the world. The bird habitat was pretty fixed, and we changed it in a couple hundred years faster than it changed for a million years. And in doing that, we made almost a sanctuary, as it were, in urban space with gardens and trees. For the birds that could survive in our gardens because they weren't surviving in the countryside. And that's really, I think, where we can take this message in the gardening business, is that we have the opportunity to have a breeding population, if you like, of many, many birds that will live in gardens and will live around people if we provide the right conditions for them. And it maybe they will then go out and breed more in the countryside, because right now they're retrenching, they're being almost pushed back. Because of countryside changes, and it's development. It's not just countryside; it's development too, and climate change. So it's almost like the gardens that we all love ourselves can be the hub, if you like, or the core of bird continuity until they can adapt and go out where they used to be. So the more we can help, the better. The more awareness there is, and things like this. Thank you. And just people love it. If you love the birds more as a population, we might start thinking about pressure to not do this and pressure to not do that, and just helping them by planting plants in your garden.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is Ian Baldwin, our bird expert, horticulturalist extraordinaire. Ian, thank you so much for making time for us.
Thank you so much for asking me. It's been delightful. Thank you.
Hey, you can fly into our nest and hang out anytime.
I like that.
All right, we are back from our interview with Ian. Big shout out to Ian. Thank you so much for joining us. It was an absolute blast to talk to a real life birder. Kevin, I don't know if you know this. I think I've said it on the podcast before that I used to not like birds.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I can't believe that.
It was 3.5 years ago, Austin. 3.5 years ago to this day. I remember that.
But I've come around. I think that was from having pet birds. That wasn't fun. But wild birds are so cool. And one of the things that really got me on the bird train was my favorite movie of last year. It's called Listers, and I believe you can still watch it for free on YouTube. It's about two amateurs that get into the competitive world of bird watching, and they do their best to have a big year where they see every bird possible in the United States, and they track it and list it. It was such a fun, entertaining, cool movie that really, I think it helped me appreciate birds. But what's interesting is they use the same app that Ian brought up.
The
Merlin. So I really think this is cool, and I'm going to put some noises from Merlin in this episode if I can.
Oh, great.
So if you're interested in getting into bird watching, definitely check this app out. Merlin, it's legit, and you can record and upload sounds and then cross-reference sounds. Make sure, it's really good. It's good at listening, and it knows what birds are around. It's so cool. But that's enough of that. But I do recommend that movie. You guys should check out Listers. Kevin, what's your big takeaway from talking with Ian?
I loved it. Ian was fantastic. I think it's really cool to be able to kind of put yourself in the position of the birds, think like them a little bit, get that bird brain out, which is a good thing. But I love it. It kind of goes back to, leaving the leaves. A lot of the things that we do that are good for some of those pollinators that we talk about, like on the insect side. Some of those same benefits, some of those same practices have a benefit just like that. So the leaf litter, leaving those leaves, giving areas where they can kind of get down there and scratch up, look for bugs. That's good. And one thing we always think of, plant some trees, create a canopy. He brought up the oaks. Oaks are tremendous. I mean, as a native tree, it doesn't get much better. They provide so much food and habitat and shelter for so many different organisms, birds among them. So oaks are amazing.
Can I ask you about the other one he mentioned, the Chinese pistache? Yeah. How does that tree grow? How does it do here? What does it look like?
Well, here you're always kind of seeing it as an ornamental tree where people plant it. It does have a canopy, creates a bit of shade, but really known for its fall color, really showy and kind of pops these kind of just really vibrant colors. But he brought up, he's like, that's pretty cool. He's like, but they actually will flower and have these berries that humans aren't really into, but the birds love. And so imagine this massive tree, this big canopy that, just in the fall starts getting, late in the season starts fruiting out, and the birds just love it. So to think about providing food, shelter, nesting, a water source, all these little things you can put even into a tiny space. He even admits you don't need acreage to be supportive of the birds. You can do it on a patio. You can do it even in containers or pots. If you're renting or moving or you have limited space, go for it. What I really loved is his idea of not just the trees, but the perennials, all these smaller plants that you don't normally associate with supporting the birds. But he's talking about things like rosemary, lavender, the sages, the Mexican sage, pineapple sage. I know I have the microphylla, the hot lips sage at our garden, the salvia hot lips, salvia microphylla hot lips.
And birds are in that?
Hummingbirds go friggin' bonkers for it. And like I said, I try to leave it as long as I can in the season because they still kind of produce. But at the school today, we were out there trimming them back, getting ready for some new spring growth, hopefully to come around. But the sages are fantastic. We have native penstemons, the foothill penstemon, beautiful. They love that. He even brought up Artemisia, wormwood. That cool-looking plant kind of has this kind of a lacy, weird textured leaf. But he said this is a fantastic one for them. And even another coyote bush. A native plant that we have here. If you've ever been walking around the foothills or along the rivers and streams here, you'll see coyote bush everywhere. Pretty rugged plant, once it gets established, pretty drought tolerant. And he's like, the birds appreciate it. They can go live in there. It's really cool to kind of hear from his perspective because you hear about all that, not just the big birds, it's all of them from the carnivorous, the birds of prey that are really magnificent. He kept bringing up the Cooper's hawk. You see those out and about, even bald eagles, and things like sandhill cranes, these massive birds. They're so wonderful. And so, I love it. Sometimes I'll have some wild turkeys coming to my front yard, and they do that. They scratch up the mulch a little bit. I always know when they've come. It doesn't bother me that much. And he even mentioned, he's like, I've never lost a plant to a bird, and if I did, he's like, I'd be okay with it because it's worth it. But he said, I've never lost a plant to a bird. He's like, worrying about them, don't worry about them in the right way. They need our help. He mentioned, sadly, that they're declining in numbers over the past 50, 60 years. We've lost a lot of our birds. So it's up to us, garden friends. Please let's do it. One person at a time, one garden at a time. I know it seems, sometimes it seems like we're trying to put a fire out with water droplets. But if we all bring our water droplet, we can fill that bucket, and we can hopefully help out these birds. As I came up to your house today, Austin, to record, your neighbor had some beautiful feeders out, covered in the gorgeous finches. I think the goldfinches that he mentioned. I love that. I want to I want to live where I hear birds singing.
Me too.
Having a silent spring or walking into nature and not hearing much, that's not cool.
No.
And so a lot of it goes back to the insects. So for us, less pesticides, or even, reduce your pesticides. And if you do have to spray, use organic and try to limit that as much as possible because what we do in our garden matters. Those little small things add up. So, let's all learn from Ian. Let's help the birds out. They are beautiful and they benefit us so much more than we could ever imagine.
I totally agree. What a great message. Thank you again to Ian for joining us and sharing your knowledge with us. I hope everyone is inspired to start thinking about the birds. Kevin, that's all the time we have for this week. Go ahead and take us out.
All right, garden friends, now we got our job to do. Get out there, get those bird baths, maybe a feeder or two. And, like Ian said, just plant, plant, plant. The more that we plant and the more food that we provide for these creatures, hopefully the more we'll see them. So let's do all that. Let's band together, garden friends. I wish you all an amazing week. One more thanks to Ian Baldwin, and a huge thank you to all the listeners for tuning in to the world's best garden podcast, as long as you don't fact check that. Come back next week for another garden adventure, friends, because guess what? We've got so much more planned for you. This is going to be amazing spring. You know what? And plant those seeds, friends. Start planting those seeds. It's not too late. Oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about. Come back next week, garden friends. Happy gardening to you all, and please, never stop growing.